Hello from the shores of Lake Superior. Got a boondocking site here that can't be beat. I mean, it's just beautiful. Right on the water. You can hear the waves all night. So, I've been on the road for 18 days now. And am I cutting my head off? Let me move this up. I've been on the road for 18 days now, and I've been experimenting with low water dish cleaning. Pots and pans, especially greasy pots and pans, cleaning them with cold water is a problem. So one of the ways to clean pots and pans would be to heat up a big pot of hot water, preferably to boiling, to sterilize everything so you don't infect the camp with some parasite. But that's not always convenient when you're on the road. It wastes, uses a lot of fuel, a lot of water. You need maybe 2 pots of hot water, one for rinsing, one for soaking and boiling. But that's the standard for hygienic dish cleaning and pot and pan cleaning. Now I'm using a grease cutting soap, which is Dawn soap, but it's not cutting the grease in cold water. So what I've come up with is this, and it's worked quite well. I've experimented extensively with using a couple of different techniques, and this is what I've come up with. Now I'm going to show a bunch of video of me working with this, and I do it different ways, but this is the executive summary on how I'm cleaning my pots and pans. And you just take a greasy pan. This one is not greasy, and I used baking soda, which is just plain old baking soda you buy, not washing soda. It's baking soda that you buy in a supermarket. I sprinkle that around. You can get some sort of a shaker and sprinkle that around so you have a thin coating on the pan. When that's done, you put in just a little bit of water, a very little bit, a couple of tablespoons, 1 drop of Dawn dishwashing soap, and then I scrub that with a 3M type scrubber and get all of the crud loose. The baking soda cuts the grease. It's key. Dawn is supposed to be a grease cutter, but it doesn't do as good a job for me. It just was not taking the grease off the pans. They always felt slimy and greasy when I was done. So I do that, then I take a 8-ounce sprayer and I spray it down with water to loosen up the crud. And that I just get rid of the heavy stuff. Then I take my sink sprayer here and I just give the pan a shot and get out the remainder of the stuff. So this is very low water usage, which I'm using. Once the pan is fairly clean, I then use a sprayer. This has white vinegar in it. White vinegar is a fantastic disinfectant. It does cut grease a little bit, but the primary use I'm using it for here is as a disinfectant. You spray it down with this, wipe it down again if necessary, and then just spray it again with water. So the amount of water in here, this is an 8-ounce thing, and I probably used about 3 or 4 ounces last night to clean a dish, which is not a lot of water. Maybe a half a cup of water from my sink sprayer, and this 8-ounce container of white vinegar I've been using for 18 days now. I haven't used all that much. It doesn't take much to disinfect. But with that technique, I can do 2 pans and a dish or some fork and spoon and stuff with maybe a half a cup of water or 1 cup of water. That's very good compared to what I was doing before. Before I was soaping up with water, rinsing with water, wasting huge amounts of water. And so nothing works for everybody. What I would suggest is you try and experiment with this and see how it works for you. Experiment at home. Get a pan, get something greasy, if you're eating your artery clogging bacon or some chicken fat or something in here, let it get cold, then try this technique on it using cold water at home and see how it works for you. Now the rest of the video here is me out in the field actually doing this, and I tried a lot of different techniques, a lot of different orders. I was putting in baking soda and vinegar and cleaning it that way. For me, the best three-step method is sprinkle it with baking soda, add a little bit of water, spray it down a little bit, it doesn't have to be much, scrub it clean, then go to the vinegar, you know, and then rinse it. That's what's working for me the best. You may find something that works better for you, but for me this is very important. It reduces the amount of water I use tremendously and allows me to extend the trip longer because I'm not using as much water. I hope this helps you. I think it's a great find. So give me a thumbs up, okay? Big thumbs up, and watch my other videos. Subscribe. Thanks. So all this stuff fits in the vestibule quite nicely in the back shelf back here, and I can do. This is how much vinegar I've used on this trip. It's not a lot. I could go several more days with this vinegar solution. So I'm using paper plates, which I'm not proud of, but I'm using them. I'm saving water that way also. So the effort here is to use minimal water with this thing. I'm even using a water sprayer to just get some of the spooge, the crud off of here before I give it a rinse. So far I've used less than a half a cup of water on these two pans, and they look pretty clean. They just need a good rinse. Now that's significantly less. That's significantly less water than I would have used had I been just washing the dishes with soap and water. And the big question is, will it be degreased? So this holds 8 ounces of water, so you can see I'm hardly using anything. I used several squirts of vinegar on these things, probably 3 or 4 squirts on this pan and a couple on the other pan. So let me finish this up. I think what I'm going to do is use the sink sprayer, and there we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'll recycle that water into the other pot here, right? This is just taking off the bits and getting rid of the soap. Pretty good. Let's see how this goes. Yuck. So again, I'm boondocking out here in the middle of nowhere, and the longer I can make my water last, the better off I am. I'm not going to be at this spot. I'm just practicing for another trip, and hey, I'm looking pretty good here. I'll just let this drip dry. And let's see what we have. No grease. Now I gotta ask, why doesn't Dawn just put baking soda in their freaking soaps, you know, dish soap? And why don't they put some vinegar in there? The vinegar sanitizes, and the baking soda cuts the grease. I don't get it. I may try and whip up my own batch of dish soap for when I go camping. I'll experiment with it at home. But I do want to say that baking soda sprinkled on the pan lightly, vinegar and Dawn soap mixed together, a tiny bit of water, scrub it down with a 3M scrubber. That'll get off the crud. It'll sanitize the pot and pan for bacteria. It will remove the grease, and then you just have a light rinse. I'm using far less water. So I did another greasy chicken test, cleaning out this tub, which is silicone, and if there's any grease on it at all, it feels really slippery. And so I had cold chicken in there, and I washed it using, I sprayed it with a little bit of water, just a tiny bit, and I shook on baking soda, and the shaker is working now. I had it over full initially. When it's less than totally full, it shakes just fine. I just took this, I shook it around a bit, got enough on there, not a whole lot, just a little, and then I used a little bit of Dawn soap, on this spongy type thing, and I scrubbed it out. That removed all the crud, and when I was done, I sprayed it again with water just to get off the heavy crud. Then I sprayed it lightly with white vinegar to sanitize it. When that was done, I gave it a quick rinse with a hand sprayer on the sink, and that cleaned it up really good with minimum of water. The only way I could have used less water was to continue to spray it with this sprayer, the water sprayer. I had to label it water because I kept confusing them. The only way I could have saved more water was spray it with this hand sprayer of water and removed more of the stuff, the filthy vinegar and other stuff. But as a low water use cleaning technique, I think this is very viable. I mean, you really have to experiment. I don't know what you're eating, you know, I don't know what kind of food and crud you've got on your dishes, but this is certainly worth experimenting with if you're interested in saving water, which I am. If you're interested in teardrop trailers and camping, you can look at more of my videos. They're about vestibule teardrop trailer in particular, but I think what I show is the experience of camping, the gear that I choose, and I think that's universal to RV camping in general. I don't think there's that much of a difference. It just shows products that I use, gear, how I use it, camping in the rain, bad weather camping, how do you handle it. So I have videos on that. I welcome comments, I welcome questions on YouTube, and there is a Facebook forum, Vestibule Teardrop Trailer Enthusiasts, which is an active forum about teardrop trailers, and in particular vestibules, but I think all teardrop trailer people would be welcome there to ask questions if they're generic questions about teardrop trailering. And that's run by Steve. It's a lot of fun, very funny comments, interesting information, and it's worth checking out. While I'm at it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. It helps keep the lights on.